any form of franchise, and then you found out that over 99% had lost money, would you believe that, 99% of people that have bought my franchise have lost money, but they're all just lazy? I mean, would anybody buy that?
Yeah, and that's an important distinction just from the standpoint of franchises, at least in the United States, are required to give you that type of information. It's the law. They have to report what the percentage of successes and fails are. And I agree with you. If McDonald's, if 90% of them failed, I think the whole company would eventually go under because they would not be able to get new franchisees. And they have to replace franchisees. I won't say just like MLMs because, a typical franchisee is probably in business for several decades, but at some point they do stop. They retire, they sell it to somebody else, whatever. And so McDonald's has to constantly recruit new franchisees too, just not at the rate that Amway and other MLMs do. It's a similar thing, but the rate of it is nowhere near each other.
But nobody in their right mind would buy a franchise where there was a 90% loss rate, would they?
Correct. Yeah.
And the other thing you've got to ask is, are IBOs really that much more lazy than people that buy traditional franchises? Because why are the success rates of McDonald's franchise owners better than Amway distributors or IBOs or whatever you want to call them? Is it that people that buy McDonald's franchises are just harder working and smarter than Amway and other MLMs? Or is it that owning a McDonald's franchise is a lot easier than being an Amway MLM owner or franchise owner, or whatever you want to call it?
A big reason is they put a lot of skin in the game, right? To come up with $1 million or $2 million for a McDonald's franchise, you may have had to borrow from family and friends and gotten loans and, scrape together that money. And now you're willing to work really hard because you owe a lot of people a lot of money, and in an MLM you don't have that, right? It's pretty cheap to get involved, so easy in, easy out type of a thing.
But the customers come to you if you own a McDonald's franchise,
right?
You don't have to do advertising; the company does that. You don't have to design the food; everything's done for you. It's made. To me, somebody who buys a McDonald's franchise is someone that has a lot of money but doesn't have any of their own original ideas. So if you don't have any ideas for a business, what you do is you buy somebody else's idea. That's effectively what it is. You're paying for somebody's idea.
And there's also the fact that you know that the success rate is pretty high. So it's a good investment as long as you can come up with the money somehow and you're willing to work hard. You have a pretty decent expectation of being successful, and that's very different than an MLM. It's usually very easy to join, very inexpensive, and when something happens that's adverse, whether it's checking the internet or getting rejected or whatever, it's easy to get out. Because I would think that a McDonald's franchisee, if they saw something negative about McDonald's on the internet, would kind of say, well, that's not consistent with all of the documentation that I was given from McDonald's by law, showing what the real statistics are. And so they can kind of reject the information on the internet for good reason. Whereas in an MLM, when you see negative information on the internet, it's one of those things where it's just not the same sort of power balance, if you understand that phrase. It's different, and that's why the upline spends so much time, especially at the very beginning, telling you, now you can check the internet, and you might find negative stuff, but we're here for you, and we don't succeed until you do. And there's all these different phraseologies, but what they're trying to do is they're not explicitly telling you not to look at the internet. They're just trying to say it's not reliable. And we're here to help you and make you wealthy and all these things, and that's their strategy to overcome the internet. So it's always a struggle, and I think that's probably the biggest reason Amway peaked out in 2013 was because that's when social media really got going. There was social media. I think Facebook was started in 2005 or 6, but it was very tiny. It was originally targeted towards United States universities, and then it sort of grew over time, and all these other, platforms like, Twitter and Instagram and et cetera, they either didn't exist or were very small until around 2013. I think it's about the same time that you could say social media became a major presence. And guess what? Amway's been going down ever since. So I think those things are linked in my mind. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Anything more on that, Glenn? We'll move on.
Yeah, I think the only difference is here it's been going down since about 1993.
Well, if they're teaching kids in school, that's different than the U.S., and that's probably another, major influence on Australia's numbers.
Yeah, that's how they should be. It's one of the most, if you want to teach kids about business, why wouldn't you teach them about a bit? Well, you think of all the businesses that kids would go into, the business they're most likely to go into isn't fast food, it isn't being mechanics, it's MLM. That's the most common business. I mean, 108,000 different MLM business owners in Australia. You won't find a bigger business. So, of course, they should be teaching that to kids.
Yeah, I wish they did here. They don't. As far as I know, it's not taught anywhere, whether it's elementary all the way through college, unless you take some specialized course somewhere, but it's not, commonly educated. And I think it should be. I think that would be a great thing for the United States to do. I'll talk to Betsy DeVos about that. She's the former Secretary of Education and married into the Amway family from another rich family. Maybe she'll take me up on that. What do you think, Glenn?
I think if you want to be fired as a school teacher, the first thing you should do is teach kids the data on MLMs that over 99% lose money. That will get you kicked out pretty quickly, I think, as long as Betsy DeVos is there.
Yeah, well, she's not there anymore. But anyway,
okay.
Yeah.
But the person that replaced her is probably coming from that same sort of system where you don't question MLMs.
Yeah, I think there's so much political money flowing around in the United States that a lot of these politicians won't speak up because then the money will dry up from the MLMs. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. Again,
there was a time when Amway was the biggest political donator there was. Donated more money than any other corporation in America, and to not just one side of politics, but to all sides of politics.
Yeah, they don't really care if you're a Republican or Democrat. They do give more to the Republicans, but they also give money to the Democrats because they want them on their side too. So
yeah, they need them on side. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Hey, Peter, looks like we're towards the end of our time here, right?
We are. Yeah, I even extended it 30 minutes. We filled it up already.
Yeah, this has been great. We didn't get through our entire list. Maybe we can have you back again, Glenn. I would like to get through this list because I just love to, expose people like Tim Sales and all.